everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Screen Speak. It is the podcast that's all about movies, life, and so much more. I'm Jordan Anderson. This is my podcast, and I do appreciate you coming by and giving it a listen. So, for today, I got a guest with me. Yep, I was able to rope another one into this. It is my good friend, longtime collaborator, I guess, creatively, because he's been in videos of mine off and on over the years. It is Mr. Ryan King.
Hello, Jordan. How the hell are you?
I am doing okay, sir. We were having a lot of laughs before I hit record on this.
Yes.
For a couple of things that we're not going to say.
Not important.
No, not important. just not relevant at all to movies or anything else. But anywho, Ryan, I appreciate you coming on. Really do.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Let's talk some movies.
Have you ever been on a podcast? Because I've only had, you're the third guest I've had, but like I do feel like, I'm sure there's other people locally that do podcasts, but I don't know a lot of people that I actually know that have actually done this.
No, I have not been on a podcast. I watch a lot of podcasts though.
Do you watch like with the visual and audio, or do you just like to listen?
Like a couple of them that I listen to are only on Spotify, like audio. Mm-hmm. But I also watch like the Pat McAfee show is on YouTube.
Is that a Pat McAfee just sounds like a sports guy.
Yeah,
is it a sports guy?
Yeah, it is a sports.
Yeah,
podcast.
You like sports. Yeah. It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. But I do really appreciate you being here, and I do have to comment just briefly on some of the videos that Ryan has been in with me, which I think I say it in the first episode of the podcast, but prior to me doing podcasting, I did actually have a YouTube channel, Jordan Anderson Movie Reviews. It is still out there, and Ryan's in a few of the videos. And I think if I'm just thinking of like a favorite video that you and I have done together, because there's been a few, probably the most recent one is, of course, is What Not to Do in Movie Theaters,
yes.
Part 2.
Yes.
I do like that one quite a bit, but I think really the personal sweet spot for me is the roast of Transformers.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one was... I remember I hadn't done videos for a while at the time, and then like when I did, I had a better camera, and like I was actually getting better at videos and stuff. And then Ryan was cool. We came over and just laughed our asses off watching Transformers the last night.
Yeah, terrible movie.
Which I did ask you, Ryan, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I did ask, I explained what this podcast was. I explained what the format is. Like, we could talk about that if we want to.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that too for a couple of reasons. Because one, it was fine for making a video to essentially be a warning to people to not watch this. But how much time do you really want to spend talking about something that is a nauseating bag of garbage?
Yeah, you can only shit on a movie for so long. It's...
there's entertainment value to a point, but then, yes, like you said, it's repetitive after a while.
I will say that my personal favorite video that we've done together is definitely the What Not to Do in a Movie Theater Part 2. I just think, the production value in that.
It's a halfway decent video.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm like a professional at this, but I have gotten better with it over the years, and it was a very fun video to make. And I'm so glad that Ryan actually is game to do stuff like that, because it is a lot of fun. And maybe, who knows? People could listen to this podcast, they'll look it up, and there will be some cry for Part 3.
Yes.
And I am in.
We are fully in for Part 3 of What Not to Do in a Theater.
Okay, so before I dive into the actual movie itself, got to get the plugs out of the way. If you have not already, go ahead and hit the follow button on Spotify. If you're listening to this through Apple Podcasts, do whatever the same version of that is, because I believe there is a follow button in there, or a like notification, a bell of some kind, so people can see, hey, there is a new episode of Screen Speak. I can't wait to listen. So do that. There is a YouTube channel, Screen Speak, where there's just some sound bites I upload from episodes. Maybe there will be some video eventually. Hint, hint, kind of a tease. And there is also an Instagram page where you can see me, a person that's not super proficient with Instagram, but tries, occasionally post nuggets of movie-related things that may tie in the episodes or just things that I think are, moderately interesting about movies. So those are all the plugs. So there, we're done with that. It's like, it's kind
You
of...
gotta get those out of the way.
It is kind of funny, though, like, when I'm thinking about the plugs, it's like, I'm not monetized, so it's like I don't have sponsors yet. Who knows? Ah! But I feel like when I'm kind of going through the plugs, it is like me trying to, like, it's like the salesy part of it,
Yeah. That's why you try and get through it quick, and then we'll get you guys the good content here.
Yeah. You'll naturally follow organically. I don't have to beg you for it.
Yeah.
I know that. I don't want to be desperate. And is it desperate to talk about being desperate?
I don't know. Let's move on.
Right. Awkward. Continue. Okay, so the movie that we are going to talk about today is Passengers. It stars Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt.
I thought we were talking about The Pacifier.
The Pacifier is a Vin Diesel movie.
So I was completely mixed up. All right, I guess we'll talk about Passengers.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Now, I don't own The Pacifier, but...
It's a great film.
Is it?
Yes. 10 out of 10.
Ryan, tell me this with a straight face.
It...
I need to believe.
It has a great plot.
Isn't he like a Navy SEAL who becomes a babysitter?
Yeah, and he has to babysit this family and keep these next door neighbors from getting this super prized USB drive.
So
great. It has Brittany Snow in it.
I'm trying to. Sorry, it's a lot to process. So I realize you're saying Pacifier because of the Pacifier Passengers, but the fact that you were able to rattle off a synopsis, like I knew it had Vin Diesel and babysitter and Navy SEAL. You actually gave me a plot.
Oh yes, yeah. Vin Diesel needs to protect his family after the dad of this family gets killed because of the info that he knows. And he
heavy stakes.
Yeah, big stakes. So he needs to protect this family from, coincidentally, their next door neighbors.
Well, I'm going to protect the audience by moving on and not discussing the freaking Pacifier.
I think that's fair. Let's discuss the Passengers movie.
I'm glad that we can agree to never talk about the Pacifier.
Yes. All right. Back to Chris Pratt.
Okay, so Passengers, Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt directed. I'm sorry, I admit I'm holding the Blu-ray for it right now, and this is a weird dual pack. It actually comes with After Earth. I'm not kidding.
Oh,
the Will Smith.
movie,
it's not a good movie. So
yeah,
they have both the movies.
See, that's what they do though. They pack a good movie with a shitty movie because they
Yes.
know you're not going to buy the shitty movie on its own.
Exactly. But Passengers, let's talk about that. It was directed by Morton Tildum. He is the director of The Imitation Game. I think this is actually the movie he did after that. And I'm going to read the synopsis because that's what I kind of joke with Ryan before us. But if it's a movie I actually own, I'm like, well, rather than Google it, I can just read the back because they put the plot out there. They do it. But sorry, I admit my brain went. Ryan, fill the dead air. Fill it for a second.
Yeah, so it's a great movie. It has that one person and the other one. And they are they like passengers on an airplane or something? Or?
Ryan, you did beautiful with that gap of time trying to just state the obvious. Like, is it a man and a woman in space?
I think they're flying out of I don't know somewhere.
Earth?
Yeah.
They're just coming from Earth, right? Okay, now. But it was directed by the guy who did The Imitation Game, and I will say
that's a good movie.
I think this actually I'm holding this right here. Let's see. Let me see. When did this come out? It came out in 2016.
Sounds about right.
Sorry. 2016. I'm
Sounds
correct.
right. Yep.
Yes. I will say
what a year.
It actually was a good year.
Good year. Good year for movies.
Good year for life.
Yeah.
Heavy life.
Yeah. That was
it's a beautiful thing.
That was not Endgame but the one before that came out.
Infinity War.
Infinity
right?
War was 2016, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know.
So.
I don't know. We'll have to.
Maybe it was 2017.
Someone can Google that.
Yeah. Anywho, this movie is prime time.
I will. No, I mean, I am being serious, which this is definitely going to be more of a jokey episode because Ryan and I, we like to have a good laugh.
Yeah, I don't know about movies as much, but I am funny. So.
I think he's a funny guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
Follow his Snap or Instagram or...
You going to plug my Snap, my social
Sure.
medias now?
I actually do offer people to do that. I have yet to have somebody that's really wanting to, but you can if you want to. Do you want to?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anonymous.
You find me. Good for you.
Adam said the same thing. When I had him on, he's just like, I'm a man in Minnesota, and if you find me, then okay. I'm that's Adam, if you're listening, that's your impression. Okay, so I'm going to read the synopsis of this, but I kept trying to say, I felt like this movie actually kind of got a bad rap when it came out, because I think, like, people, like, you know, general audiences, I think, liked it okay, but, like, critics were a bit harsh on it, I thought. But I've rewatched this movie a few different times, and I think it's a pretty solid movie.
I think it's a pretty good movie. I think, honestly, like, this is going to come off sounding, like, really, I don't know, basic-ish, but, like, the movies that critics like are very often the movies that I do not like. So, basing my opinion on the critics is not always the way to go.
Yeah, and let's touch back on that because I want to read the synopsis. There's a couple things I want to talk about, but I do want to circle back to that. If I forget, be like, Jordan,
I'll slap you.
Yeah, you slap me. Slap me in the face.
There you go.
Okay. So here's the actual synopsis from the back of the Blu-ray. Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt star in a high-stakes adventure about two passengers. Hey, that's the title of the movie. Aurora and Jim, on board a spaceship transporting them to a new life on another planet. The trip takes a deadly turn when their hibernation pods mysteriously awaken them. I mean, in the case of Jennifer Lawrence, not so much, right? Yeah, Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Not great.
Mysterious.
They wake up 90 years before they reach their destination, and as they try to unravel the mystery behind the malfunction, they discover that the ship itself is in grave danger with the lives of 5,000 sleeping passengers at stake, and only Jim and Aurora can save all of them, and of course themselves. Mm-hmm. It's pretty well done, but you know what? One thing I'll say, actually kind of about this, I mentioned casually that I've read the back of the Blu-ray, like if I'm holding the physical movie in front of me. And sometimes, like, the synopsises, like, it's, I don't know, like, I mean, like, sure, like, that's it, but, like, I don't know. I feel like if I were to write the synopsis of Passengers, it would talk more about how, it would actually, I think, talk more about, like, the opening of how, like, a man actually wakes up before he's intended to and has to make a decision to, like, figure out if he should spend the rest of his life alone, because that's what the movie's, like, more about.
It's more about that, you know, moral, is it right, is it wrong sort of thing, rather than them trying to conquer this problem.
Yeah, because, like, it eventually...
In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you've seen the movie, which I've said it on this before, spoilers will happen on this, and this has been out since 2016, so you've probably seen it. But, like, the main stuff with, like, the ship and the malfunction stuff, it really doesn't come until definitely closer to the third act. And a lot of it before, like, the first act of this movie is actually, I think, amongst my favorite, because it has, like, that kind of, that Castaway vibe, where he's just alone and he's trying to figure out his situation, and I'm weird sometimes like that, and I like seeing movies where there's not, like, a large cast, and it is just focused on, like, a handful of people.
Of one person.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I will say, like, on top of that, this is different from, like, most movies. It would be, like, one guy in, like, a post-apocalyptic thing where, like, everybody else is abandoned, or he's, like, stranded on an island or something. This is, like, completely different. He's, like, stranded. Yeah, it's, like, this super nice, you know, futuristic ship or whatever, but even at that, he's still all by himself, and there's no indication that anybody else will be joining him for at least, you know, I think it's like 200 years or something.
Well, they wake up 90 years
90,
before. Well, they wake up 90 years before, but yeah, I mean, like, it would, he'll be dead by the time he gets there.
The point is he would be dead by natural causes way before anybody else would be able to join him.
Yeah, and so I think just like from like a plot, I mean, it's a fantastic premise for a movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, like just the setup and the story.
Agreed.
Is that too loud?
Great.
Why did I do that?
I don't know. I should slap you now.
Can you do a noise so I don't feel as strange?
Giggity goo.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I'm not going to do like a scene by scene breakdown of this movie, but I do want to walk through the first, second, and third act because they each have their own interesting themes and ideas to talk about. And Ryan's like, Jordan, can you lead the conversation for those? And I'm like, sure, Ryan. I don't mind. Ryan,
Jordan,
it's okay.
Yeah. Well, you're the big movie guy. I'm just the entertainment. So.
You are the entertainment.
Yeah.
I think you're an entertaining guy.
No, I appreciate that.
Anywho, so
when does Vin Diesel come in?
In this movie? Are we back on Vin? Vin is not in this.
Oh, gosh.
But rest assured,
all over the place.
But rest assured, Vin Diesel will be mentioned in this podcast in future episodes.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
For family.
Family. That's my Vin Diesel impression. Okay, so the first act of this movie, the setup is just great because, again, Chris Pratt, he wakes up and he's supposed to have woken up with everybody else, but he realizes, okay, nobody else is awake. The ship is essentially flying through like automatic system controls and all that, and so he is alone. And the reason that he's actually on the ship is because his skill set is, I believe he's like is he like a civil engineer? He has some type of an engineering background.
Yeah, I thought he was some sort of like builder, engineer type.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be going to essentially like the new Earth to help, build it.
Construct their community.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
So the reason I say that is because since he has that skill set, he tries to use what knowledge he has to try to figure out how can I get into like the control room of the ship. And eventually, and this is amongst my favorite parts of this movie, but he does basically get to a point where he feels hopeless. And it's actually, like, I think the movie, like, this movie is actually really interesting with this because it does have, like, some moments of lightheartedness and whatnot, but the serious moments, I think, actually work. And he reaches a moment where it's funny as hell, but then it becomes sad in, like, the next instant. And I'll set up the scene. They go through like a little bit of a montage where there's this robot bartender, which that's the other great character we should talk about. But the robot bartender, played by Martin Sheen, he tries to basically say, rather than waste your time trying to figure out how your situation is terrible, why don't you just make the most of it and just basically do whatever you want?
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt's like, okay, cool. And they have this great montage where like he's
doing all the fun things on the ship.
Yeah.
All by himself.
Yeah, he's got there's like some virtual stuff. There's like a robot that serves him food. But he's like, whatever, I'll get drunk. Like
it's like goes out into space walking and stuff.
Does like
with like a jetpack sort of thing.
Yeah, he does that. Like he plays like virtual Dance Revolution kind of thing. He plays basketball. He just watches movies.
It's kind of like being on vacation where like you do a bunch of fun stuff, but like a couple days or even a week into your vacation, you're like, all right, I want to go home. Yeah. Like I'm done with all this stuff. And he was definitely in the same scenario.
And that's where the montage with that's interesting because then he starts growing like a depression beard. Yeah. And he starts like, you can tell he's getting like kind of fat because like he's just overeating to like make his feelings go away. And you can just tell that this man, apart from just him accepting the reality of his situation, he is really literally dying of loneliness. I mean, you think about a sense of isolation like that, and it's like, if I was on a luxury, like essentially a cruise in space by myself, I would probably try that out, but then yes, eventually realize that I'm miserable. And yeah, when he gets to that point, that's where the dramatic tone actually, I think, kicks in for the movie more, where he actually wants to end his life. Like, he gets really close to doing it at one point. And then, towards the second act, we get into Jennifer Lawrence being introduced because it kind of gives him a reason to live, I guess, because and this is where I really want Ryan's input on this in particular, because he spies on her sleeping.
Yeah, and
I just want to
he
talk. I want
does,
to talk
like,
about this.
He does, like, I forget the exact scenario, but he does some sort of, like, research, like, in the ship's database to find out more about Aurora and, like...
Yeah, because like I don't think like he like intentionally like just goes up to her and is just like, whoa, like
Yeah,
I'm just
like,
gonna
she's
stare.
smoking hot. No, it's more like...
He's looking around at the pods,
Yeah.
and then like I think like he looks at her and he's like, oh, like she just looks like a nice, like he does see something.
Yeah, and, like, figured out her name, and, like, she's, like, an author, right? Like,
Yeah, I think she's supposed to work for like a New York Times kind of thing.
Yeah, and he, like, read a bunch of her stuff that she had published and, like, absolutely loved it and just, I don't know, was all googly eyes for this girl.
So he at least like did not willy-nilly go into a situation of like, oh, we need to wake her up. He doesn't do that, but it's one of the, I think the most interesting parts of the movie is that if you are alone and you're floating through space and you know that you actually have the ability, if you choose to not be alone, you can end your loneliness and potentially be with someone who is beautiful and will fulfill you. Would you do it?
Knowing that you'd be dooming them to the same fate that you're in.
Yes, which the movie I think almost directly quotes that. Like you literally know,
Like
you are you are going to die.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's hard from an outside perspective. I think the easy answer is no. That's totally wrong. You should never do that. It's not morally right to do that, to doom somebody else. But, you know, in that situation, not only would it suck to be in that situation, but you're not going to be thinking straight if you're in that situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, his body was at a point where it was pretty much do anything to make this not suck.
Yeah, and I think the movie's very smart about how it shows without saying a lot that you can tell he is very clearly conflicted about doing this. And then what's worse is that it's not like he wakes her up from the hibernation chamber and it's just like, hey, I'm super lonely. The ship is broken. You know, we're probably going to die, but like, I think you're pretty.
Yeah.
He does not do that.
No, it's like, oh my gosh, you woke up too? No way. I also woke up.
And I think he's been up for like over a year before this happens.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, and so then like the second act, like it you know, it becomes, okay, how does she feel about the situation? Because she kind of goes through a similar thing of like, oh my god, like we can't, like how can we like wake more people up, or like can we figure out what's going on? And he's like, I've tried everything, blah blah blah, and then eventually she starts accepting her fate. But then, I mean, they're two attractive people alone on a ship. It's like there is something that I feel like that would, it's like being on a desert island. Like, would something guaranteed happen with that? Like romantically? Maybe not. But likely speaking, in this situation, I think it would be plausible.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like when she first got woken up, like she was not having his shit. Like she was not into this dude at all. And then she gained a little bit more trust in him and so on and so forth. And I mean, honestly, if you're a guy and a woman and you're literally stranded on a ship together, the only two people, I mean, not a lot of competition there.
No, not especially. But I do enjoy when they do, because I think they actually have chemistry together in the movie. Like I feel that they do. You can tell that they probably had fun making the movie together, or at the very least they kind of get each other on some level. And I like seeing I actually bought into the romance that they have in this movie, which that's another thing with this movie. It is a science fiction movie and it's dealing with a lot of stuff, but there is romance.
Yeah, and comedy. It's like sci-fi and romance and comedy. And, you know,
it's got a lot of good things in there. And now I want to talk about the robot bartender. I mentioned I wanted to touch back on him.
Yeah, go for it.
He's awesome.
Yes, he's very cool, but he also does kind of screw the pooch with letting the secret go.
Yeah, so that's a perfect segue to continue is there's a point where Aurora, Jennifer Lawrence, she's quite happy, or at least she's accepted the reality of her situation and is like, well, it could be a hell of a lot worse. We have everything we need here. Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt. This could be a lot worse. And Chris Pratt, it's earlier in the movie, but like he's like, yeah, he's like, by the way, can you not like tell Aurora? Can you please not? You know, please. And he's like, oh, of course, like of course, sir. But then I'm trying to think, like, yeah. Oh, yes. No, I know the scene. Sorry, let me say this. So I know the scene because they're both at the bar together, and then she says to him, like, "Huh, like, there's no secrets between us." And then he like does like a robot twitch, like he like looks at him, and he's like, "Is that true?" You know, because he's aware that he holds a secret, and he's just like, "You heard the lady. It is true." And then he's like, "Beep beep beep. Okay, I guess nothing's off limits."
Well, and then I'm pretty sure he like leaves or momentarily steps away because he's like getting ready to propose to her, right?
Yes.
And then in that moment, she is talking with the bartender, and he's like, I forget what the exact words were, but it was something like, "I knew from the minute that he started talking about you, in when you were still asleep or whatever." Mm-hmm. And then she's like, "Oh, this motherfucker."
Yeah, and she's like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "I knew he made an excellent choice."
Yeah,
and it doesn't even like matter the way he phrased it. It's just clearly, I mean, he lied to her from the start. I mean, like he literally was deceptive right from the beginning. I mean, completely destroyed whatever trust would have been built up, and
doomed this woman to the same fate that he was in
when he easily could have not done that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that's where the movie ends up definitely taking, I mean, it's dramatic, but like it's really interesting. Like I think the movie's actually like pretty clever about how it doesn't try to like make it be like some like thriller where it's like, "Oh my god, this woman is trapped against this crazy depraved man on a ship." You know, like I feel like if another director did that, they could maybe have tried to make the movie be more focused primarily on that as opposed to like the larger moral situation of the movie. But yeah, when that happens, yeah, I mean, then shit hits the fan and it's really bad between them. And like, she's like ignoring him. She's like, "I hate you. Like, I can't believe you did this to me." And he just feels absolutely devastated and hopeless. He can't do anything. And then, guess what? Lawrence Fishburne, he's in this movie. He's a captain, and he eventually is like, "Who the hell planted a tree on my ship?" I don't know if he sounds like that.
How did he wake up? Was his
pod malfunction? Yeah, but his pod malfunction is different because like he's in the movie for like 10 minutes, and then he's just like, all my internal organs are like super screwed. Like here's a couple, and then like the machine, I remember they're just like, "Here's some pills to ease your pain. Good luck in death." Like But it is interesting because when his character comes in, obviously he helps kickstart the third act where, hey, like the ship is having problems. Like let's really figure out what's happened because it's going to affect more than just you two now and even him. But what I do like is that his character actually is essentially the reason why Jennifer Lawrence is able to actually change her mindset. Because if you remember, she's like, or no, he says to her, I think he's just like, "Yeah, like I saw what happened to the pod." He's like he woke you up, and she's like, "Yeah, like he's an absolute monster. Like I hate him." And I think he says, I may be paraphrasing, but he's just like he's like, the man was drowning, and he grabbed onto to a life. He's like, "Can you blame him?" And it's just the way he says it, where it's like you don't condone it, but you don't condemn it. At the same time, it's just just very interesting. And then the movie ends up becoming more of like, I think like a
survival type.
Kinda, yeah. And that's honestly like where the movie. Are you having fun there? Sorry, he's moving the microphone around.
Sorry.
Are you distracted?
It becomes a survival type movie, kind of like, are they gonna because they're racing against the clock because the parts of the ship are progressively becoming more and more impacted by problems.
That is where some of the cool visuals come up in the movie, though, because in particular, Jennifer Lawrence is swimming and gravity goes crazy, and like she gets like sucked up in the water. It actually comes out of the pool, and she's like floating around and then basically drowning, and then the gravity resets and like just she like just falls back into the pool. I mean, it's a cool sequence.
Yeah, and then when they have to like, I think it's like the core of the ship that's malfunctioning, and that's affecting every part of it.
Yeah, I think there's
when
like
they have to like cool down the core. There's some pretty cool visuals too.
Yeah, I think so, and I did like. I mean, I like that side of it, but I admit first and second act of the movie is where I'm more interested in, just because again, the moral question. Just seeing their adventures and kind of chemistry on the ship, I could have probably just watched the whole movie being like that. But I also get you have to include somewhat of stakes to things because of the whole situation from the beginning. Yeah,
I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Ryan, I want to ask you now.
Hit me with it.
I'm hitting you with it.
Okay.
I don't know why I was like, I don't know if I should. Nope, we're not editing, so we're gonna keep rolling. I'm curious, you and me. Let's say you wake up first on the spaceship.
Yes.
Like you're like, oh no, I don't know, like what's gonna happen, and you see my beautiful face sitting in a pod.
Would I wake you up?
Are you waking me up?
Similar situation.
You read my bio, like you looked at my Savage Ways YouTube
no.
video.
No, I know it's you, right? Like it's somebody I know.
No. You don't know
okay,
me.
we don't know each other.
No, you glance at my pod and you're like, huh, he seems all right. And you look at some of my YouTube videos, you're like, oh, like.
I'll be 100% honest.
I'm dying on the ship.
If I thought that you would potentially be able to fix the situation in terms of like if you had any sort of ability to fix the problems that were going on in the ship or know how to figure out the problems on the ship, then I would say, yeah, I would probably wake you up. If you were just like a random schmuck that made YouTube videos, probably not.
I should put that in my bio. Random schmuck that makes YouTube videos and now podcasts.
Yeah.
That's thanks for the vote of confidence there, buddy.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that.
That's how I think of you.
No, that's great. That's great. I'm thinking if the shoe is on the other foot. Now Ryan's in the pod. I wake up. I look. I see a king sleeping in his chamber, and then I glance over and I'm like, let's see what this dude's all about. I see a bunch of footage on the Cubs. I see sports and monkey ball and other things.
Other things that can't be mentioned on a podcast.
Yeah, well, that's true. We can't go down that road. Yeah.
Would you wake that guy up?
I wake you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I like to have some friends. I don't have like a lot, but like I like quantity over quality.
This is gonna.
Sorry, quality over quantity.
Yep.
I reversed
this.
that.
This is gonna be really shallow, extremely shallow.
Wait. In the shallow.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah, let's get over that.
This is gonna be really shallow, but I'm not gonna lie. You know, if I was in Chris Pratt's situation, and Jennifer Aniston is on my freaking ship.
Not Jennifer Lawrence, to be clear.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I just want to make sure.
Is what I meant to say.
Okay.
If Jennifer Lawrence was on my ship, yeah, I'm probably.
You waking her up?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I know I'm not an attractive guy, but I don't have any other competition.
Do not say that about yourself,
it's Jennifer Lawrence, but even I could land Jennifer Lawrence if there's no other guys available. I mean, come on.
It does improve your odds.
Yes.
to say the least.
Come on.
It would be funny, though, if you think about this. Now, I mean, this is still focused on the movie, but think about it. You're on the ship, you wake up Jennifer Lawrence, and then let's say, like, I don't know, like day 3, like you're showing her how there's all these, like, other sleeping people in the pods. She's like, wow, like, look at all these other people. And, like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit. Like, you walk by, like, Jason Momoa. You walk by Ryan Gosling. You walk by, like, all these, like, 10 out of 10 dudes, and you're just like,
oh, shit.
Oh, no. Yeah. What is she going to want? I'm not waking them up. Yeah. I'm not doing that. She's stuck with me. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's talk about that. If I'm in the situation, I see Jennifer Lawrence there. Now, I want to be very clear about my words. Isola, my fiance, this is a hypothetical. You are. I love you. We do not know each other in this hypothetical situation, but but a big but. But that being said, yeah, I mean, I get why Chris Pratt did it. And if I was in a similar circumstance, am I going to pretend like it probably wouldn't happen? No. I mean, likely speaking, I think it would. Maybe not with her.
Did you hear that, Isola?
I think
He's leaving you for Jennifer Lawrence.
Isola, I am not. You are my love.
You are my one and only.
You are my sunshine. My
moo.
Moo is another story. That's you do not. That is personal.
Okay.
No, it's okay. You can say that. People can speculate. What the hell does moo mean? Maybe I'll share one day.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's.
But you would do it. Is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking the probability. I don't want to say definitively because it's not a clear yes or no to me. Because it's like unless you're there, how can you actually know if you would?
I think if you're even on the fence now. When you were in the situation for a few days, few months, a year or two.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're even on the fence now, imagine how much time rolls around. You're going to be at least one day. It only takes one day where you're like, man, life really freaking sucks right now. Jennifer Lawrence is in a pod.
Well, here's the thing, though. I like movies a lot. There's a movie theater on this ship. How many movies are in the library? Because I can spend a lot of time watching movies.
You found the loophole. I'll give you that. We'll say the only movies available in the library are Adam Sandler films.
Ooh. All of his films?
Yes, all of his films. We're talking Hubie Halloween.
Hubie.
We're talking Grown Ups 2.
Classic.
And that's all you have. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, you can go through a couple weeks with some good Adam Sandler films, but then you start getting to the Hubies of the career. And I'm thinking at that point, Jennifer Lawrence is looking pretty nice.
Let me think. Adam Sandler, Hubie, Jennifer Lawrence. Such a difficult decision, but I will ponder it all the same. So the movie, third act, it ultimately gets to the point where Chris Pratt tries to sacrifice himself, but because the power of love and space and all that, it's too much. So you think he's dead, but then he's not dead because he has like that. He holds up like a shield, remember? Because like he has to like get in like the heart of the reactor, and it's gonna like burn him to death, and he's able to survive. But then what ends up happening is Jennifer Lawrence is basically like, I forgive you, like I really do love you, despite basically being a creepo and watching me sleep for a year and dooming me and things like that. They're able to make it work, and I guess for that, I'm like, it isn't perfect, but at the same time, it's kind of life in a way. And so I guess I appreciated that they came to that, because I don't think I would have liked to have gone through the whole journey only to have like her just be like, no, like we're not doing this. I'm waking up Jason Momoa. You can be alone. Yeah. But then very interesting, they do like a time lapse, and the movie eventually like ends, and it's like 90 years later.
Wait. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, when they fix the ship, they finally figure out that there's one pod that they can put somebody back into hibernation.
Very good point. I'm glad. Yeah.
But the catch-22 on it is, well, first of all, there's only one pod, and you can't like activate it yourself. Like one person would have to activate it.
Yeah, so only one gets to do it, and the other person would have to be subjected to being alone.
So he has the opportunity to make up for his mistake and put her in hibernation, and then she's back like as if nothing had ever happened, and he's back to his state of being doomed, right?
Right, manning the ship, and
And then it cuts to
like the 90 years later, where they do eventually arrive at It's like Homestead 2. I actually remember that. Homestead 2, and then really actually strange.
The whole ship wakes up, right?
The whole ship wakes up, and then you won't really be like, well, whatever, but Andy Garcia, who actually is a really well-known actor, shows up for 2 seconds with like a beard. He's like the captain, like the actual captain of the ship, and he has no lines, he has no nothing, but like he just looks and he sees that I guess Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence, they got really into gardening and growing things because a lot of the ship it shows that like they grew like trees and grass and like vegetation and gardens, you know what I mean? Like they made it. Yep, that's the guy. He just Googled him on the phone, people. Do you know who Andy Garcia is?
He's Merlin in Transformers: Age of Extinction.
No, that's Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. But they do look similar.
Yeah, I mean with the beard,
yeah.
I mean I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. But they end up planting, and it shows that they actually were able to, as far as you could tell, have potentially a meaningful life together. At least, you know, and actually, I always kind of wondered though, like, did they have kids?
I don't think so.
I guess I mean, because I feel like the kids would have like ran up and be like, "Hey, like you're awake now."
They would have lived long enough to raise the kids, and then the kids could have survived on their own, and they could have made it to that 90-year time span. So they must not have. You can only assume.
One thing I want to backpedal to what you said, because I don't know why I never like thought about it that way, but when you talked about the one pod being available and that it was a chance for him to right his mistake or what's the expression for that, like you know, right your wrong, is that it?
Yeah.
I never really actually thought about it like that. I mean, like I understood like the dilemma, like that was clear, but from the viewpoint of you could literally, you know, make your mistake correct. That's interesting to think about. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. It was a good point.
And I believe he is all on board with trying to fix his mistake and put her in the pod. And I believe she is the one that is very much against that. Right? Doesn't she refuse?
Yeah, she's like, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly she got to the point mentally where she no longer was upset with this guy for the decision he made and wanted to live out the rest of her life with him.
It's very true. Ryan, I'm going to tell you right now, if we went through the harrowing adventure that Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence go through, I ain't putting myself in the pod. I'm staying out.
Fair enough.
We're getting together through old age.
Fair enough.
Isola, it's nothing against you.
I love you, but
Ryan,
I'm his first love.
Old age, together with him.
Movies, podcast,
life.
Life.
What are we talking about?
Jordan, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we talked about a lot of the movie.
So, the movie is very much, you know, it's kind of a survival thing, but it's very much a morality, you know, situation. You know, is this right?
A question of morality, yeah.
Do you think that this same sort of premise, you know, of people in pods traveling through space to get to this new home, do you think that a different genre of movie with the same setting could have also been a successful film? Like, as if, here's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
If it was more of a horror movie sort of dynamic where, you know, I don't know, just different.
No, I think I can help you here because I think I know where you're going with this. So I think what Ryan's trying to say is, if you think about it in this movie, I'm gonna set up the scene and kind of like take you from the beginning. Say the movie right from the opening actually is Jennifer Lawrence wakes up. Mm-hmm. That's the first scene in the movie. Yep. She wakes up, Chris Pratt's there, like he's like filling her in, and then you have no idea as an audience member anything happened. And then halfway through you find out, oh my God, he's actually been awake for like 2 years. Yep. If you started it from that perspective and not from Chris Pratt's, yes, I definitely think you could have done an entirely different movie. But that said, in the right director's hands with like the right people, I mean, that would have been an interesting premise too, in and of itself. Like, it would be creepy, it'd be strange, but like it would work.
I think you gain a little bit more of how or Aurora, the Jennifer Lawrence character, was feeling that during that whole time period where she was just woken up, but you lose out on that question of right or wrong with Chris Pratt's character. That you'd be missing out on that whole is it right, is it wrong to wake her up sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think, and that's, I guess it boils down to like sex, because
everything is sex.
Isn't that like Robert California, The
Yeah.
Office?
Yes.
Or are you referencing The Office, or are you
Yes.
just saying everything is sex? I realize we're staying on focus on this, and we are wrapping the episode up here in a minute, but low-key, Robert California is actually a really good character in The Office.
Yes.
I just want to point that out.
How did we get to this? But yes, I completely agree. But how did we get here?
This is how podcasts work sometimes. They go into some different directions, but we're still keeping it. We're keeping it on Passengers.
You don't even know my real name.
I'm the
Lizard
King.
Lizard King.
Oh my god. Okay, You're compelling me to talk about The Office right now, but I need to, just for Robert California, because he deserves love. Let me just say, it's interesting because I think he doesn't show up until like the 8th season, because he's in 8 and part of 9 maybe,
Yep.
right? And I remember like the first time I saw it, like, and I think it's part of the point, his character makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, he is strangely
he's creepy.
compelling and creepy and
Yeah.
weird, but I've seen...
The more you watch it,
yeah.
the more you're like...
No, he grew on me.
Yes.
And I think I've seen The Office actually in its entirety, I think actually 3 times. I've watched that series
I've watched
a
it
lot.
all the way through at least double-digit times.
And when Robert California comes back, I'm like, Robert California's the shit. Because you admire his confidence. Like, it's actually like, he's creepy, but you're like, wow. Like, because he has a articulate way of speaking.
Do I look like somebody that would waste my own time?
No.
No.
Like, that interview scene is brilliant because he's just like, and you can't see me doing it, but the way that he like turns his head kind of like a bird to like throw you off and like just looks at the camera like that. If you've seen the scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But okay, God.
Reel it in.
Reel it in. But Robert California, I'm glad you brought that up. He is the Lizard King and amazing. Anyhow, okay.
How did we get there? All right, where were we going with that?
I'll have to listen to the playback on this to see where Robert California, the Lizard King, originates from Passengers. Okay, so let's start wrapping this up. What is the last thing that you want to say about Passengers, Ryan?
I don't know. Overall, enjoyable movie. The only thing that I will shit on this movie a little bit about
is it the Imagine Dragons song at the end?
No, it is not.
Okay.
It is. I mean, it's got great visuals. Don't get me wrong, and that increases rewatchability. Great visuals.
True.
But storyline wise, once you've seen it one time, you kind of know. It's not like you're really dying to watch it again, in terms of you already know what the decision is going to be. You already know how she's going to take it.
Yeah, I can say, like, I don't know, like, I hear what you're saying for that, but, like, me...
But you disagree.
No, like, not really, because, like, I think from, like, the moral question of it, yeah, it's not as compelling the second, third time that you watch it, because, you know...
You know how it plays out.
Yeah, you know how it plays out, you know when, the twists are going to come, but... I'm going to tie this back into, like, how I mentioned, like, the kind of Castaway opening with, like, characters in isolation and having to figure out situations. I strangely gravitate towards stuff like that, and I like to actually watch movies like that repeatedly where somebody is in a situation like that, and I don't know.
Well, you are a movie geek, though.
Geek, is it the right word? Geek?
Yeah, nerd.
I don't like it. Have you ever heard anyone say, like, cinephile?
You
ever heard
creepy.
that? I don't like it.
That sounds like
there's other
too
things
close
that
to pedophile.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but you just went there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, moving on.
I'm not. God. Okay. Yes.
Your mustache yesterday would say otherwise.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about the mustache. It was a trial run. I don't have it right now. I had a mustache.
Is that what
for a
you
little
told
bit.
the cops?
I'd like to uphold my Fifth Amendment privilege. Isn't that what they say? I don't know what they say exactly, but they're like, I'd like to exercise my Fifth Amendment rights. Or talk to my lawyer. Okay, wow. Do not speculate about that.
This last 5 minutes, we really took a turn.
Is a U-turn.
Yeah.
A big U-turn. Okay. My last thoughts on Passengers, kind of similar to Ryan. It's maybe not as great after like you watch it for more than one time, but if you are looking for a solid science fiction movie that's got characters with good chemistry, has an interesting premise,
Well shot.
It's not perfect in all the parts, particularly the third act is my least favorite, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not treating this like a review episode, but if I was going to actually grade this one, I mean, it's probably like it's like in the B minus range. Probably I like it. Maybe higher.
I would still give it like a B plus A minus range. I mean, I really did enjoy it the first time I watched it. Like I was like there was no sort of like, wow, that was a waste of my time. Like, no, I really genuinely enjoyed it.
Ryan, what is the movie that you're like, wow, that was a genuine waste of my time?
God.
Besides Transformers.
Transformers is instantly where my mind went. But outside of that, oh, man, nothing is really on Transformers level. I mean, I don't mean to shit on it all the time, but that's a waste of my time. Hubie Halloween, waste of my time.
I watched that with you.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was an hour and a half. I can't get back. It's gone.
Hubie.
Yeah, if you see Ryan, he's doing the underlip. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap this up officially. Ryan, I really appreciate you actually coming on. I hope you actually enjoyed yourself.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Are you happy to be here?
Happy to be here.
Okay. Like for real? Like you're okay?
Yep. Happy to be here.
I don't know who actually.
I'd wake you up.
I feel like someone that actually says happy to be here. Who says that outside of like a press conference situation?
I'm happy to be here.
I don't believe you. Okay. No. For real, Ryan. Thank you. I hope you come back. And anyways, anybody else? Wow, I was going to try to do a final plug there, and I just botched my words. But follow, share this with your friends, support it, all that good stuff.
Yep. They already got that when we were about 3 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah. Is 2 plugs excessive? Like just the one at the beginning? That's all you need?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still figuring this out. This is episode 7.
If they made it this far, they're going to subscribe.
That's true.
Yep. 100%.
Okay, well, that's going to be it. So appreciate you all being here, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Take care, everybody.